Hi team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and today we're going to discuss about the last phase of this ISO 27000 series, where we're going to discuss about is my organizations ready for certification and how the auditor do the audits. So that can be some cheat sheet we can use to pass our certification in a first attempt. So yeah, so it is a first kind of video where I have covered end-to-end entire series from the implementation to the audit, and I'm sure this can be a good eye-openers for the companies who preparing the company to go for the certification. My name is Prab, and for more information, you can check my LinkedIn profile. I would highly recommend check my previous video before jumping to this video. Then only you can able to correlate all the dots and everything. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Thank you. So let's jump to the important section which we are covering here. Now, when we're talking about, we say, okay, my organization is compliance with the 27001, and now I'm okay to face audit. But before that, we have to do some homeworks. The first important thing is we have to verify the policy and procedures. That's the most important part we have. So we have to ensure all the policies and procedures are established, documented, and accessible. Very, very important. Even it's established, documented, and if it's not accessible, it's a concern. So make sure it should be available. And these should be cover information security, access control, incident response, SOA. So all these are the important documents that must you have during an audit. Second is operational controls. You need to confirm that all controls selected in the SOA are fully implemented and operational. Okay. You need that, but it's not implemented, it will become under the non-compliance. So it include your firewall controls, administrative controls. Then third part is documentation. You have to verify all required documents, which is called policies, SOP, register, and logs are completed. Very important. Version control, if you modify something, update the version number and stored securely. That's the most important part we have. Along with that, we have sections to be reviewed. In these stages, you can review your SOA, statement of applicability, to ensure appropriate controls are chosen based on a risk assessment result. And second most important part, your access control logs, your incident logs, your audit logs. Okay, it's very important to be checked. That's the first step. Now, second, we have, which is called as a risk assessment treatment. Now, please focus here. Okay. Risk assessment process and its outputs are the most important point for an auditor. And if you ask me, what are the things they will basically check is, they will check the risk assessment completeness. They ensure all identified risks are documented and likelihood impact assessment has been validated. Second is, when we're talking about the risk treatment plans, they will verify that each risk has clearly documented. Each risk has a clear treatment plan, which is like mitigation, transfer, avoid, and acceptance, and residual risk are accepted by the management. So they will ask for the minutes of meeting records. And make sure your SOA controls address the risk, identify risk assessment, and each risk should have associate controls or treatment options. So that is the risk assessment, internal audits records, and management review meetings. That's the most important part. So question is, what kind of a document we look for? The first thing is that we review the risk assessment register, treatment plan, where we document the list of risks. We have to check, we have to choose the treatment options and implementation status. Second is internal audit reports to ensure we have a continuous oversight. So that's something we have to review. Next, we have called completion of required documentations, which is called SOA. We have to make sure each applicable control from Annexure A included with the clear justifications, verify that have all supporting evidence for each control which is marked as applicable. And accuracy is very important. Okay. So yeah, so some documents we have is SOA. So SOA we have to check and make sure evidence that each control in the SOA is either implemented or justified if it's not applicable. That's the most important part. Next is called as a training and awareness. We have to confirm employees, especially those in ISMS related roles, have received the appropriate trainings, check the email invites and everything, and ensure records are kept for all training activity. So might be auditor asks, and what you have to review first before showing anything to auditors: training logs and competency assessment records. That's the most important part. Next important thing, we have monitoring and improvement. So we ensure KPIs and metrics are tracked. We have to confirm that any non-conformity identified, documented, and more important, document the evidence of continual improvement action. So what to review is non-conformity corrective action log. That's the first thing. So we have to track issues and corrective measures which showing resolve and non-conformity in preventative actions. And second most important part is ISMS improvement logs. We have to document all the continuous improvement efforts which align with the ISMS best practices. So that's something we have to look for. Next is final audit report. So we have to conduct the final audit to verify ISMS elements are functions properly. And more important, we hold a final management review to ensure top management has reviewed the ISMS and approve all the changes. So what to review is we look for the internal audit reports. That's the first important thing, which provide the evidence of readiness, highlighting any final adjustments. And second is final management review minutes, which talk about the documentations showing management commitments, endorsement of ISMS. So that's something we will look for. So it's very important. We're preparing the organization to go for certification. So we have to ensure all document is up to date, accessible, and format that meet the audit requirement. And then you can go for body, certification body, which also provides some necessary information about your scope, SOA, and documentation. So we have some summary checklist that you have to check. Example, like from an ISMS implementation point of view, SOA, policies, SOP, logs, incident logs, check, they will check. Documentation completion should be there. Your risk list should be complete. Your treatment plan should be complete. Your audit report should be complete. Your management review should be complete. Okay, clauses and extra compliance. So make sure your SOA and extra controls has been thoroughly documented. Every control that you have reflected, it is implemented. You need to show the document for that. Training logs are important. If you're doing a monitoring, provide them logs of the updated details. You also need to provide the non-conformity corrective action logs. If you're looking for the internal audit and management review, make sure you have final audit reports, final management review minutes. That's the most important part. And finally, all documents should be organized and certification body has to be selected. Now, this is a summary checklist. Now, another important thing we have to look for is your checklist for audit readiness. Okay, checklist for audit readiness. So that's a very important part. So here the first thing is that the document must be complete. All required document policy procedure finalized. Make sure it should be accessible also. Second is SOA and controls are verified. You have to make sure your SOA is complete. Evidence for each control should be in place. That's a very important part. Internal audit must be complete. So your internal audit, non-conformity resolved, corrective actions all need to be documented. Incident response need to be tested. So your incident response plan should be tested with document outcomes. Training awareness, all employee need to be trained, policy communicated thoroughly. Backup recovery tests need to be done. Compliance with the law, it's very important. Management review has been conducted. You have a MOFM for that. And decision documented, that's another important thing. You need to create a folders where you have to organize all the documents, and you also need to show some logs which can demonstrate your continuous improvement. Now, night before a certification audit, when an auditor comes for an audit, prepare. So night before the audit. So example, tomorrow is audit. So what is the thing you have to do? Night. So this is something I did in my last organization. I make sure documents are organized and accessible. I verify each control has evidence. I confirm risk assessment treatments are updated by checking the dates. Check all the training records. Confirm audit findings, corrective actions are logged. And we ensure that, okay, the management review, okay, minutes cover ISMS performance. And we also verify we have incident logs and check the version document controls. So now we're going to discuss about audit. As I said, when you're talking about audit ready documentation, the first part is your policy should be complete. Okay, keep records of everything, and you can have a review and update regularly, and track version we have. So when you're talking about audit, we have a 2 stage of audit, stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is called as a documentation review, where auditor primarily review your ISMS documentation and determine if it meet the 27001 requirement. And the key area they will check is scoping, policy procedure, where they check the completeness, risk assessment document, statement of applicability, where they evaluate the justification, and management review and internal audit, and document controls. That's something they can look for. So the preparation tip is make sure all documentation is accessible. Okay, it should be accessible. That's a one thing. Okay, it should be organized, and more important, approved by the management, and have a people ready to explain the ISMS objective. So this is the most important part we have for the requirement. Okay, that's something you have to check. And another important thing we will look for is so you can say like that stage 1 is more about verification of the design of control. Then we have a stage 2. Okay, stage 2 is like certification audit. So we have a detailed onset audit where the auditor will assess whether your ISMS is effectively implemented. We also verify your ISMS operate effectively, your controls are implemented, and organization has followed its documented policy procedures. So we look for the operational effectiveness, where we review how well your ISMS functions practice. We look for the evidence. We also look for the logs, changes in the files, incident reports. Okay, is it thoroughly has been reviewed? Employee awareness, that's the most important part. We check the emails has been sent to all the people. Okay, how you handle the incidents, and then you also verify the risk has been identified and appropriate treatment has been taken. So checking the email records and everything. Continuous improvement. So preparation tape is make sure the key people understand the roles and are familiar with the policies and everything. Now, one thing is that you need to conduct the pre-audit review of all the records to ensure evidence like logs, trainings, and are up to date. So there should not be any sorry. Okay. Now, typical area which auditor review is, the first is called as a ISMS scope. So here the auditor or expert auditor to ask about the scope of your ISMS, how it aligns with the organization objective, and they may ask the management to explain the reasoning behind certain scope decisions. And you need to give the thorough information. Second is risk assessment treatment. So auditor will look at how you assess and treat the risk. Be prepared to explain your risk assessment methodology and risk assessment treatment decisions, as well as how controls in SOA address a specific risk. Third is called as a SOA, statement of applicability. It's a very important part actually. So when you're talking about statement of applicability, okay, statement of applicability is very important because it talk about the list of controls that we have implemented. So here the auditor, will review the SOA closely as a key document and link all the information with risk treatment. So your SOA is linked with the risk treatment. Okay, and you may be asked to justify why certain controls are included or excluded to provide the evidence of their implementation. That something is there. And then we have an incident response business continuity. So auditor will expect to see a documented incident response process and may also ask to review the recent incidents. They look for the evidences that incidents were managed and according to your procedures or any lesson learned were documented. Next, we have access control user management. So auditor will review the access control policies, including how the new users are onboarded, terminated, reviewed, and they may ask for the evidence of access logs, user access reviews, and the policies. And then we have internal audits and management reviews. So here we expect review of recent internal audits management. Auditor will also ask to see evidence of finding, corrective actions, management engagement with ISMS. So they might check for the minutes of meeting records. That's something they can look for. Then compliance with the legal and regulatory requirement. Again, one of the interesting parts, auditor will ask about the compliance obligations. They review the relevant documentation to ensure all legal, regulatory, contractual requirements are addressed. Employee training and awareness. So auditor may interview people employed to test their understanding of security practice. They will look for the training records as an evidence. Okay. And the most important, document control and version, where the auditor will examine your document control process to ensure ISMS are documented and managed up to date. So these are things they will look for. So what is the next thing? So preparation of outcome is, when you're talking about audit perspective, after the auditor will discuss the findings with you, and typical outcome can be non-conformity. If the non-conformity are found, okay, if non-conformity are found, auditor may issue a corrective action request. You need to address this before certification can be granted. Okay, so we have a two type of conformity. Okay. So we have a minor conformity, minor non-conformity, and we have a major non-conformity. Minor non-conformity is like small issue that don't directly impact the ISMS, like incomplete documentation for minor controls. That's fine. And these need to be addressed, but usually don't prevent from certification. But major is like a issue with the things like missing some ineffective controls. Okay, I will explain you with an example. Okay. Imagine you are in the middle of stage 2 audit, okay, and auditor begin reviewing your risk assessment and risk treatment process. During the audit, they check the risk register. I repeat, so we have a risk register here. Okay, risk register. Okay, imagine you are in the middle of the stage 2 and auditor begin reviewing your risk assessment and risk treatment process. Risk assessment and risk treatment process. During the audit, they check the risk register and find some identified risk have a lack of clear treatment action and or that certain residual risks are not formally accepted by the management. So auditor raised this as a minor non-conformity. I repeat, minor. So in this case, minor non-conformity relate to the gap in the risk treatment process. According to 27001, every identified risk should be either be treated, mitigate, transfer, accept, avoid, or left as a residual risk. So here, why it's a minor non-conformity reason, because the missing treatment action indicate the organization has not fully implemented the risk treatment process. Okay, and impact is, since it's a minor non-conformity, it does not immediately prevent the certification, but must address for a full compliance. So when auditor raises non-conformity, how could you respond practically? So you acknowledge the finding, we have to be calm, acknowledge the auditor observations and thank them for identifying this issue and provide the context, like, okay, explain the organization current risk assessment treatment process and showing that you have a structured approach but may have overlooked some details. Example, like we conducted a comprehensive risk assessment and identified all major risk. While we documented most treatment, few actions may need traditional details and we may have missed formally documenting management acceptance or some residual risk. So next step is basically corrective action. We update the risk register, enhance the treatment and prepare the evidence. And that's something we do, and communicate things. So by taking this action, you show the auditor that aspirants respond proactively to non-conformity and other to the 27,000 and committed to do the process. So major non-conformity happen, it's another big issue. Okay. Next is basically talk about the audits. So audit is another important things. Observations. Auditor may provide observation like suggestion for improvement that are not required for certification but can help to enhance the ISMS. If all major requirements are met, the certification body will grant the certification usually for 3 years with the surveillance audit annually. That something is there. So small final tip for a day of an audit is stay organized with all the documents, be calm, transparent. If something is missing, unclear, explain your plan to address it and ensure people know who to contact if they need help during the audit and are confident in discussing their roles and responsibility with ISMS. This is all from my side, and this is the end of this ISO 27001 series. Do share me suggestions in the comment box. What is the next video series should I release? Every video required a lot of efforts, a lot of times, and it is a love and affections only which motivate me to build more and more content. So do let me know how do you find this video and share your suggestion in the comment box. And if you still not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel because I'm planning to bring more offensive, defensive security content on the YouTube. This is all from my side, and for more information, do follow me on LinkedIn and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Good day. Bye.